Hi everyone, I'm here with the Principal of Excellent Key Subjects, Idris Musti, and we're just talking today about GCSE tuition. What are your thoughts and what's been your experience on the subject of GCSE tuition?
It is a very popular topic. Many people are worried about it. GCSE being the first main exams that young people do these days. What I'll say first is that if you are going to get help, get it very early. The GCSE course is a 2-year course. It starts when students are in year 10. It used to be called the fourth form. And they do it for 2 years. Actually, the vast majority of the material is covered in year 10 when they are 15. If you're going to get help, try to get it earlier. I will actually go a bit further, because in most schools, most good schools, students actually start GCSE in year 9 now. Since the government has abandoned the SAT, it means the GCSE actually starts, especially in maths and English, it starts a little bit early. So if you're going to get help, get it early.
And do you have any advice for people when it comes to choosing a teacher or a tutor, what they might want to look for?
What is most important, it is important, of course, for people to be qualified. Make sure the teacher that you are employing or that you seeking a service is fully qualified. That is quite important, and they are enthusiastic. Now, having a PhD in a subject doesn't make people qualified. It's preferable if it's somebody who has a teaching qualification. More importantly, somebody who has experience in terms of knowing the material to be covered, possibly somebody who teaches in a school, so that they are up to date with the specification. That is very important, in addition to being enthusiastic about their subjects, of course.
And when you mention being qualified, is this the PGCE qualification?
Yes, usually it is a PGCE. Indeed. Having said that, it is important in most cases that they do. However, top independent schools don't usually ask their teachers to have PGCE as such.
Okay.
So yes, it is quite important, but it's not everything. It is the experience of actually teaching in school and being aware of the curriculum that matters most.
Sure. And sometimes, students like a group environment or an individual one-on-one environment, and sometimes parents have a view of that as well.
Yes.
What in your experience has been the most important thing in deciding that?
Well, it depends on the students, to tell the truth. But for a start, the one-to-one tuition is more expensive, and many young people also feel more comfortable when they are in a sort of small group, whereby they have the interaction with other usually motivated students. And for many of them, provided they go to a good center where they do the revision, it becomes a social thing. Of course, when they are actually in the center, provided it is a good one, they focus on the subject of revising. But for young people also to go to a different environment, which isn't school environment, also help.
Sure, okay. And obviously, as we know, there's a lot of organisations and companies and places where parents can go for extra tuition.
Indeed.
Do you have any thoughts as to what you might advise people to look for when they're looking at the options?
Well, I mean, they need to look at the setup. I mean, there are so many in London. You could get, I suppose, you could get a teacher for £9 an hour or much less. And on the other end of the scale, you could get one for, say, £35 to £45 an hour. What is important is that look at the setup, how experienced they are, and again, look at the teacher's qualification. And it's also important the question they actually ask you before you register in a place. Try to say the sort of question they ask, and try to make your judgment from that. Because in London itself, there are up to 300 Saturday schools, tuition classes for different subjects. Make sure that it is a reputable one, in which the teachers are qualified and enthusiastic, and the setup itself looks very organized.
Sure. And you mentioned that you might want to listen out for the questions that the centre would ask a parent. Do you have any examples of the type of questions you would listen out for?
Well, in order to make the any tuition that they're giving your child to be effective, they do need to know things such as examination board. It's not that important in subjects such as maths as such, but in almost every other subject it is crucial that it is a right examination board, because there is experience of teachers teaching students material that are very advanced, because the teacher may be either a student teacher or what have you, but they are not focusing on what they actually need to know in order to succeed in the exams, if that is the object.
So getting the exam board right is then determines the syllabus.
And being able to focus on the material they need to know, because especially for subjects such as maths, no, actually science, especially for subjects such as science, science subjects, it is important that the examination board is correct, because the material usually differs from one examination board to another.
Okay. And that's something that's worth bearing in mind, basically.
Very important.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.